on Chinese Bookie. The movie's called The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. We get to the night when Ben's got to kill him, and we're not shooting. It's after lunch and it's midnight. Al, why aren't we shooting? I don't know. I don't know how this goes back. This goes on till 3 in the morning. Al Rubin. And finally, Al, you got to do something with the crew. I mean, everybody's... John's not talking. So he goes and comes back, and he says, John can't kill him. The actor just looks too nice. He's too old. He can't do it. I even looked at him. I said, John, this is called The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. He couldn't do it. And that's such a classic Cassavetes story that you can understand who he was just hearing it. Obviously, finally he did, but he did it. He didn't do it the way it would be done today, where you see the bullet go through and out the back and all. He did it by shooting the gun by itself and then cutting here and cutting to Ben running. You never see the old man die.
Unique individual. I mean, he didn't care about money. He cared about people. He was an artist. One of the reasons I really wanted these photos to come out is not only because the whole process was so incredible. I really thought that this was going to invigorate just artists in general, that people are going to see this guy and see what he was all about, these moments that I was really lucky to catch, that it was going to inspire people in their art. Has a saying that he says on his tombstone, he's going to say, I rode with Jesse James. Right?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Well, no, what it was Mike, I thought we were going to, I almost brought it tonight, but then I heard about what the format was. There's a wonderful documentary called I'm Almost Not Crazy. And it was Michael Ventura. You guys know who Michael Ventura was? He used to write letters at 3 a.m. for the LA Weekly.
LA Weekly.
Yeah, great guy. Well, he was a huge Cassavetes fan, and he was with us every day when we shot Love Streams. He was on set every day, and he was working on a documentary, and it's called I'm Almost Not Crazy. It's cool. It's really a bitch. It's about an hour long, but if you ever get a chance to see it, you ought to. At one point, somebody was asking me on camera what I learned from John, and I don't know. Maybe I learned a little something about integrity, but I can tell my grandkids someday that I rode with Billy the Kid.
I rode with Billy the Kid.
There's another documentary, if you're serious, and you've got to be serious. You've got to be serious. But I think it's as close to you to getting to know John as you possibly can. It's called A Constant Forge. It's 3 hours long. Plus. And it's by Charles Kislyak, and he really, really did it right.
Marvelous job.
You will get to know John if you want to.
Really, you'll feel like you know him.
And you can imagine, 3 hours is a long time. So, and he didn't, like John, he didn't consider cutting. Another story about John and his love of everyone. Criterion was going to do they were going to do the DVD for A Woman Under the Influence. And they kept calling all these big stars, and everything kind of at the time was going through Ray Carney, who's a Boston University professor, who's an expert on John, written a lot of books. And Ray said, you know something? He talked to the producer, who was a lady, and he said, you know, if you want to do this the way John would do it, you don't want to get Ben or Seymour or Peter or Jenna. You got to get some of the crew. That's who they're just as important as anybody to John. So they called up Bo and me. And we did the voiceover commentary for A Woman Under the Influence on the Criterion, strictly because it got through from somebody who knew John well enough that this is what he would have wanted. So, he's been gone since February 3rd, 1989, but he's not gone. He lives through so many different ways. And, he marked all of us. I mean, he gave me my career, literally, because he saw the passion in my eyes. I knew nothing. I'm not particularly technical. I'm not even that interested in technical until I got into it, and then I learned what I needed to know. I'm interested in the storytelling. Should have been a director. So I became a director of photography, and a camera operator. But I look back and there's something fateful going on, because I'm a veteran. I was in the Air Force for 4 years. I was stationed in Greece for 1 year, remote duty. There were 80 of us in the service. I was a captain. I had men under me. I had one really good friend who was an American. I had 15 Greek friends. I stopped grapes with them in the season. That's where I spent all my free time. John is Greek to the core, and Greeks are natural storytellers. John once said, I have nothing against the studio. I have nothing against studio executives. I have nothing against any of them. But their problems are not my problems, and their stories are not my stories. I have to find a way to do it the way I have to do it. And he's revered now because it's the rare American thing. Like Orson Welles, another great maverick. He did it his way, and it cost him. But it didn't cost him his art. And that's why we are the way we are about him. I think John and Orson knew each other. And 3 months, you talk about fate. And it's something I want to tell anyone. They're not, I think it's important to remember, I think Steve said it. He went through that door and he met John and he conquered his fear. If I hadn't said, hey, Seymour, none of this would have happened to me. So you have to, Johnny Carson said, it's one thing to know what to do, but when the door opens, you got to go through it. So just remember that. Lucille Ball, it's in this article. Lucille Ball said, you got to make things happen. She taught acting in this town. So this article is about Orson Welles. 3 months here from New York. I'm bi-coastal. I'm a third-generation Californian who grew up in New York. And all I wanted to do was get back here. So 3 months, I'm working with Orson Welles. So this was 1971. So this last year, 2015, was the centennial of his birth. So I'm speaking all over the country. I'm in Chicago, I'm over here, I go to Sedona. I come back and I pull out this article that I've written in 1975. And I love the opening paragraph. Ray Bradbury and Harryhausen, two buddies when they were young. Ray, what do you want to do? I want to be the greatest animator since Willis O'Brien, King Kong. Ray Bradbury, what do you want? I want to work with Orson Welles. Well, I loved that story, so I rewrote the whole thing. Took me, well, on and off, 6 months. And then I sent an email to this magazine. I said, would you be interested in a memoir about Orson Welles? I sent it, yeah, I would love it. And so they printed it. But it's the story about the man. And for months, I couldn't figure out what to call it. I mean, it'd be ashamed for you to hear the titles I had. But one day, I said, Orson Welles, the human side of genius. Because the story I was telling was about the real Orson Welles. And that's what happens when you stick with stuff. In art, in real life, things happen. They don't happen overnight. John made it clear right away that he wanted me to choose where to go with the camera. So I'll never forget the day. This is when on A Woman Under the Influence, Jenna finds out that her husband's not coming for their love date. And she's smoking a cigarette, and there's something majestic and royal about her hand. And when she could hold a cigarette and just make you become a smoker, her house dress, and she's just thinking. There's not a word of dialogue in it. And in the beginning, she comes into the room, she's smoking, she puts her hand behind her back, she's like this. And I'm following her classically. I'm like, but then her hand goes behind her back, and she turns her back to the camera, and I float down with the hand. And I'm cutting off her head. You don't do that. You better not. Homeland, you better see Carrie every second, or you're out the door. I mean, that's commercial filmmaking, and that's the way it should be. But John is not commercial filmmaking. I dropped down and stayed there. He saw that in dailies the next day. He looked at me and said, Mike, that's the most beautiful shot I ever saw. Now, I know he's seen more beautiful shots, but he was telling me he liked what I did. I took that with me the rest of my career. Anytime I was given the opportunity, and it happens, to go my own way, I went my own way. And I was fearless about suggesting shots and ideas and things to people. And it all started with John Cassavetes, because somebody's got to say to you, it's a big, wide world out there, but don't be afraid of it, because I've done it, and so can you. That's really important.
One thing I loved about John was just what a kick he got out of you working. You know, he would see, what is he doing? And then all of a sudden he'd see, oh, and he just, like I said earlier, he was your best audience. But one of the things that John affected I can't have one incident. He affected everything, the way I feel about things, he just affected my entire life. We're looking at Steve's beautiful photographs here that were taken during the 3 plays of Love and Hate. And it was an adventure. It was a total adventure. And when it was all over, and everybody was getting ready to split up, we saw the sun going down on the plays because John was going to be leaving. We got a couple of offers from New York to go to off-Broadway for, I think it was just 2 of the 3 plays. And we were like, what? Mm-hmm. Whoa, that'd be fun. But yeah, wow. And then we all sat down and told John about it. John thought about it. And that's terrific, guys. That's just terrific. Look, we took this place and we turned it into this amazing theater, right? We created an event, hottest ticket in town. We all had a ball. Let's walk away. Just walk away. That's what we did. Now, other people say, oh, I could sell it to so-and-so, I could make money doing this. But John was like talking to a painter. That's how I kind of have to look at the way he works, and what he makes is a painter. You don't tell a painter that it's a little too orange over there or whatever, But anyway.